Breaking, evidence of huge reservoirs of liquid water beneath the surface of Mars detected, says NASA. The amount of groundwater could cover the entirety planet to a depth of 1 mile, 1.6 kilometers. Balt, member of a people of the Indo-European linguistic family living on the southeastern shores of the Baltic Sea. The name Balt, coined in the 19th century, is derived from the sea. Sti was the name given these peoples by the Roman historian Tacitus. Balt History, Culture and Language Britannica. The nations of Sweden, Denmark, Finland, Germany, Poland and the region of Western Russia are occasionally referred to as part of the Baltic region. Baltic gene. The gene is also found in Poland to the concentration of 2%. The eastern Baltic in the Mesolithic was inhabited primarily by Western hunter-gatherers. The Balts are included in the North European gene cluster together with the Germanic peoples, some Slavic groups, the Poles and Northern Russians, and Baltic Finnic peoples. Baltic mythology is the body of mythology of the Baltic peoples stemming from Baltic paganism and continuing after Christianization and into Baltic folklore.
Jurate and Kastitis. The first time it was recorded was in 1842, in the writings of Ludvikas Adumas Jusevicius LT. Since then it has been adapted many times for modern poems, ballets, and even rock operas. Jurate and Kastitis, Lithuanian, Jurate ar Kastitis, is one of the most famous and popular Lithuanian legends and tales. The basic facts remain the same. The goddess, sometimes described as a mermaid or undine, Jurate lived under the Baltic Sea in a beautiful amber castle. A young fisherman named Kastitis was fishing and she fell in love with the handsome young fisherman. They spent happy times in the castle, but the thunder god Perkunas found out that the goddess had fallen in love with Kastitis, a mortal man. He became furious and struck the amber castle. It exploded into millions of pieces. According to legend, that is why pieces of amber come ashore after a storm on the Baltic Sea. Jurate rescued Kastitis from drowning in a storm. According to other variations, Kastitis was killed by Perkunas and Jurate mourns him to this day. Her teardrops are amber pieces washed ashore and one could hear her sad voice in a stormy sea. Sometimes it is said that Kastitis is from Sventoji, north of Palanga. Jurate's crown and amber necklace in the coat of arms of Palanga. It's no piece of cake tonight on at Master Chefenfox. Birthday cake bonanza. See you at 8/7C. The latest hashtag Valentinoguraveni bags uplift the Maison's heritage. Shop the hashtag Valentinoguraveni hashtag Locabag now on valentino.com/WMNSBAGSCOO. L'innocence de l'air, an intimate invite to step into the garden. The scent of ripening mandarins mingles with the delicate perfume of rose petals for a light and sparkling new fragrance from Valentino. Hashtag Anatomy of Dreams perfumes. Unicorn Moon Magazine X The Bear Slayer. Sabrina Carpenter X Sweet Tooth.
Lakpulsis, the Bear Slayer, is an epic poem by Andrejs Pumpers, a Latvian poet who wrote it between 1872 and 1887 based on local legends. Andrejs Pumpers, author of Lakpulsis, the Latvian epic written in the 19th century, created some Latvian gods himself, although others are attested elsewhere. It is set during the Livonian Crusades, telling the story of the mythical hero Lakpulsis, the bear slayer. Lakpulsis is regarded as the Latvian national epic. The poem opens at the Council of the Baltic Gods at the Palace of Perkins in the Sky, where the Father of Destiny declares that Latvians are under threat because Christian crusaders are going to come and conquer the Baltic lands and enslave the Latvian nation. The gods promise to protect the Latvians. The council ends with the question, will the Baltic gods ever come back together? There follows a flashback of a few days to an occasion upon which the Lord of Leelvard is taking a walk with his 18-year-old son. Suddenly a bear jumps out to attack them. Undaunted, the son seizes the bear by the jaws and rips it apart as if it had been no more of a threat than a small goat, thus earning himself the name Lakpulsis, the bear slayer. After this he is sent off to the castle of Bertnieks to continue his studies. On the way, at the castle of Lord Icecrockley's, he spies on the activities of the witch Spadala, who is under the control of the devil, and the holy man Kongars, who is in reality a traitor plotting with crusaders to replace the old gods with Christianity. Spadala tries to drown Lakpulsis by throwing him into the whirlpool of Staburags in the Daugava, but he is rescued by the goddess Staburads and taken to her underwater crystal castle. There Lakpulsis meets and falls in love with the maiden Laimdota. Shortly afterwards, Lakpulsis becomes friends with another hero, Koknesis, Woodbearer, and they study together at the castle of Bertnieks, Laimdota's father. Kongars provokes a war with the Estonians, and Lakpulsis sets out to fight the giant Kalapousis, Estonian, Kalevapoeg. The Kalapousis name is derived from Kalapois. It probably refers to the hero of the Estonian epic poem Kalevapoeg. The two fight to a draw. Afterwards, they make peace and decide to join forces to fight their common enemy, the German crusaders, who are led by the priest Dietrich, Dietrich. Lakpulsis performs another heroic deed by spending the night in a cursed sunken castle, breaking the curse and allowing the castle to rise into the air again. Laimdota and Lakpulsis are engaged. In the following episodes, Laimdota reads from the old books about the creation and ancient Latvian teachings. Lakpulsis' mother was a she-bear, and his superhuman strength resides in his bear ears. The German knights come to Leelvard offering to make peace. Lakpulsis organizes a friendly tournament at the castle Leelvard, during which he is goaded into fighting the Dark Knight. The knight cuts off Lakpulsis' right ear and Lakpulsis loses the strength in his right hand. Lakpulsis becomes angry and with his left hand destroys the armor of the Dark Knight, but his sword is also destroyed. The Dark Knight struck back, cutting off Lakpulsis' left ear, leading him to also lose the strength in his left hand. The two wrestle. Lakpulsis manages to throw the Dark Knight into the river Daugava, but falls into the river himself. At this moment Laimdota also dies. At the end of the story a promise is given that the battle between Lakpulsis and the Dark Knight is not over yet. One day Lakpulsis will win, then new times will come and Latvians will be free again. Categorizing the creatures into a number of general groups by their form, nature and attitude towards humans, the map reveals both enormous variety across Europe and broad areas of similarity even between very distant cultures. In addition to universally recognizable. First published in 2012 by Vilnius University Press, the map, Mythical Creatures in Europe, includes 213 creatures from the length and breadth of the continent. Stories about supernatural beings seem to be something that is common to all cultures, handed down from generation to generation, perhaps most often as a way of explaining mysterious natural phenomena. Mapping folklore. Mythical creatures of the Baltics and beyond, Deep Baltic, the Baltic Sea. The Atlantic Ocean that is enclosed by Denmark, Estonia, Finland, Germany, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Russia, Sweden, and the North and Central European plain. NGC 2170 Angel. Brick Gothic Wikipedia. Category: Gothic architecture in Russia. Allenberg Church, Arnaud Church, Chamber of Facets, Juditon Church, Königsberg Cathedral, Kumanen Church. Golden Moon Magazine X Cabbage Pie. Classic Irish desserts. Shortbread squares. Vegan apple cake. Mini grasshopper pies. Irish coffee. Bailey's cheesecake. Guinness chocolate layer cake. Whiskey caramel cupcakes. Irish potato candies. Irish potato candy traces its roots back to the late 19th or early 20th century in Philadelphia, where many believe it was invented by recent Irish immigrants. Typically made with coconut, cocoa powder, and cream cheese, these stuffed treats are a nostalgic favorite among Philly natives to this day. Orange-scented whiskey soufflé pie. Irish barmbrack. Soaking dried fruit in whiskey adds a bold flavor to this fruitcake loaf. www.goodhousekeeping.com. Russian cabbage pie recipe. www.allrecipes.com. 3 tablespoons butter or more to taste. 1 small head cabbage finely chopped. 3 hard-boiled eggs peeled and chopped or more to taste. 3 sprigs fresh dill finely chopped or to taste. Salt to taste. 2 sheets yeasted puff pastry. 1 egg beaten. What lies beneath the chaotic El Niño weather creates dangerous ice conditions, flipping the gold miners' game plans upside down as some are forced off their claims. Hashtag Bering Sea Gold New Season. Golden opportunity sparkles. Don't miss the new season. www.x.com/BeringSeaGold. So harsh were conditions in Ireland that the nation's population decreased substantially through the 19th century. From 8.2 million in 1841, the population dropped to 6.6 million in only 10 years and to 4.7 million in 1891. From 1841 to World War II, some estimates conclude that 4.5 million Irish came to the United States. After the 1840s, the pattern shifted to families as a few family members came first and earned money to bring relatives later in a process known as chain migration. Irish immigration. Beyond the potato famine State Historical Society of Iowa. Forced from their homeland because of famine and political upheaval, the Irish endured vehement discrimination before making their way into the American mainstream. In colonial times, the Irish population in America was second in number only to the English. Many early Irish immigrants were of Scottish or English descent and came from the northern province of Ulster. Crabapples are Ireland's only native apple. In the 1500s, other apples were introduced. That's quite a while before America even officially became a nation. Maybe we should be saying, as Irish apple amber pie? In fact, besides ridding Ireland of snakes, it is said that St. Patrick himself planted apple trees. Once completely cooled, make the meringue topping. In the top of a double boiler, combine the egg white, sugar and cream of tartar and heat gently, stirring constantly, until the sugar has fully melted. Dollop and swirl the meringue on top of the pie. Toast the top of the meringue with a butane kitchen torch. A pear-shaped gemstone is my fave shape. The pear shape symbolizes tears of joy and is said to represent the idea of two people coming together to form one. The house will slowly fill with the smell of simmering fruit, preserving berries and stone fruit from throughout the season, waiting for the right time to make this. Summer fruit compote, Ukrainian waffle cake with dulce de leche, streusel topping, half a cup brown sugar, 2 tablespoons flour, 2 teaspoons ground cinnamon, 2 tablespoons cold unsalted butter cut into pieces. Yabloknik, Ukrainian apple cake. Recipe: the layers are then coated with a sour cream frosting and rested overnight to soften the layers. The outside is coated in baked and crushed scraps from the cake layers. Ukrainian honey cake, or medovik, consists of thin layers of honey-flavored cake that is made from a thick dough that is rolled out and baked until golden and biscuit-like. Carrot cake with cream cheese frosting, veselka. 12 best Ukrainian desserts and cakes. Bites glow looks like a large rectangular milk cloud pierced with colorful jelly cubes and crumbled cookies, hence the name. You just basically mix up the ingredients and leave them to cool down in the fridge. Refreshing and mildly sweet, this dessert is great for summer parties. Broken glass cake, Ukraine. Wafer cake, Ukraine honey cake. Poppy seed cake with cherry jelly. Poppy seed roll. Ant hill cake. Golden Moon Magazine X honey cakes made of chocolate ganache, sponge layers and pitted cherries. This alcohol-infused cake will get you wined and dined simultaneously, while you can choose literally any spirits to soak cherries in. The most traditional recipe calls for horilka, Ukrainian vodka, that adds a pleasant tart aftertaste. Mio Sunnies. www.x.com/Pradaxby. The drunken cherry cake. Сьогодні робимо ще один крок до сучасності та ефективності української армії. Це, що посилю всю нашу армію, бо посилю кожного командира згодом кожного вона. Today we are taking another step towards the modernity and efficiency of the Ukrainian army. What strengthens our entire army because it strengthens every commander and later every soldier. Greco-Roman wrestling. The Olympic Games in Paris. Ukrainians win silver and bronze. Praviz Nazabov, John Beliniuk, we are proud. www.x.com/Zelensky. Thank you for your character and strength. Such results are inspiring. Add coffee, vodka and Kahlua to Irish coffee cup and sweeten to taste. Gently float cream on top, add amaretto and garnish with a cherry. Ingredients for Russian coffee. 1 ounce. Russian vodka. Half an ounce. Kahlua coffee liqueur, 1 teaspoon. Amaretto almond liqueur, 5 ounces. Hot black coffee, 1½ ounces. Whipped cream, 1 teaspoon. Sugar. Russian coffee, just a pinch recipes. Russian sugar cookies, Peter's Food Adventures. 8-layer honey cake. Charlotka is a classic Russian apple cake. Dulce de leche cake, golden key cake. Mom's dish. Medovik hails straight from Russia and translates directly into honey. Honey cake, Russian honey cake, Medovik. 15-layer Russian honey cake recipe food.com. Cake layers. 1 cup white sugar. 14 tablespoons unsalted butter, cut into slices. 3/4 cup wildflower honey. 2½ teaspoons baking soda. 1 teaspoon ground cinnamon. Burnt honey. 3/4 cup wildflower honey. 3 tablespoons cold water. Russian honey cake recipe.
Imperial troops learned about the vampire legend from Slavic peasants during the occupation of Hungary in 1686, and the idea spread to other cosmopolitan centers, eventually reaching Paris, London, and the Americas. The word vampire first appeared in English in 1732. The reports of mass hysteria in southeastern and eastern Europe led to a popularization of the vampire term in Western Europe. This hysteria sometimes resulted in people being accused of vampirism and corpses being staked. The concept of vampires as undead creatures that cause harm originated in Eastern Europe, particularly Bulgaria, around 1,000 years ago. The word vampire roughly translates to ghost monster. The earliest known reference to vampires is from an old Russian text written in 1047 AD, shortly after Orthodox Christianity arrived in Eastern Europe. Butter, vanilla, flour, sugar. You'll need powdered sugar for the dough and to roll the tea cakes. Walnuts. Russian tea cakes recipe. You'll see new videos at the end of August. Ghost announcing those soon. Project Fear. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, is a unique forum where the governments of 37 democracies with market-based economies collaborate to develop policy standards to promote sustainable economic growth. Unicorn Moon Magazine X Vamper. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, is a unique forum where the governments of 37 democracies with market-based economies collaborate to develop policy standards to promote sustainable economic growth. List of international organizations. catking.in/list-of-international-organizations. International Civil Aviation Organization, International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA. United Nations Development Programme, UNDP. World Trade Organization. International Labour Organization, ILO. World Health Organization, WHO. World Bank. United Nations, UN. International Monetary Fund, IMF. History of the Royal Bedchamber, Sleep Number. The trend of sleeping apart continued through Victorian times, but the Industrial Revolution ended it in the late 1880s. Cramped living conditions during this time made it necessary for most couples to start sleeping together in the same bed. In fact, it was common for royalty and nobility to have separate bedrooms, even during the Renaissance. This tradition may have originated in Britain and could be practical or an upper-class custom. He is coming. Nosferatu. Master codes, keys. The new code has yet to be cracked, but all the signs are that it will be the key to the vast range and flexibility of our genome. Reading the genetic master code. New scientist. All we could first see was light and dark, not colors, no art. Evolutionary psychology, biology. All you ever knew was light or dark in the eyes. That's what it meant when God said He created light and darkness. The results indicate that our kind of eye, the type common across vertebrates, took shape in less than 100 million years. It might seem absurd to think the eye formed by natural selection. D. A collection and focus light and convert it into an electrical signal that the brain translates into images. But instead of photographic film, it has a highly specialized retina that detects light and processes the signals using dozens of different kinds of neurons. A circadian, daily, and seasonal rhythms around 600 million years ago to an optically and neurologically sophisticated organ by 500 million years ago.